Today I am back myth-busting home education, and today I'm going to be tackling one of the biggest misconceptions that I think surrounds home education, and that is people's opinion that children will never learn to socialise if they don't go to school. Now, as I've said before on these videos, obviously I can only give my own opinion based on my own experience of home education. So my children are 5 and 8. Neither of them have ever been to a preschool, they've never been to a nursery, they have never been to school. And at their current ages, right now, they are much more confident, much more comfortable, much more outgoing and much more social than I ever was. And I went to school all of my life. And even when I got into my teens, I wouldn't have gone to birthday parties, I wouldn't have talked to people in shops, I was wary about leaving my parents if we ever went anywhere. I would always be kind of by their side and stuck to them all the time. Whereas like we took the kids to a birthday party on Friday, it was in quite a big adventure park, and there was children there that they'd never met before because it was their friends' other friends, and it just did not faze them. They literally just got stuck in. They went off with the other kids. Obviously they knew that we were there. We were obviously watching and supervising, so they knew that we were there if they needed us, but we literally hardly saw them. And then they literally came, they had their dinner, and then they went back off again. So from my point of view, I genuinely think that that is really not actually accurate and not actually true. And just to give you my take on it, because it's funny, because I was actually talking to another mum at the party on Friday, and her eldest daughter goes to school and her son is due to start school in September. And she was, we got talking, and I was saying how we home educate, and she was saying how she would really like to do it for her son, but people keep telling her that he's really clingy as it is, so it would be really good for him to let him go to school and start mixing with other kids his age, and he'll learn social skills in that way, and then he won't be as clingy. And, you know, my kind of theory on this is that when children are really young and they start school, so my daughter would have been just 4.5 if she would have started school. At 4.5, children have not had the emotions to deal with that they are going to begin to come across as they start to get older. So they don't know how to handle themselves emotionally, they don't know how to handle themselves socially, they don't know how to handle fear by themselves, they don't know how to handle it when they get overwhelmed. Because right up until that point, they've always had an adult there, be it you or a childminder or a grandparent or somebody else who maybe has looked after them for you, that they go to when they're feeling like that. And as an adult, and we've experienced those feelings, we can then help them through it. And then the next time it occurs, they recognise that feeling, and that's how they learn to process it. Now, when we're talking about social and children mixing and you know, social circles and things, I personally think it's a really outdated way of doing it to basically put 20, 30 plus children in a room in quite a confined space, even though they do obviously have, you know, playtimes and lunch times and things like that, but they're in a relatively confined space with children only of their own age, generally only of their own ability, who are obviously only as emotionally equipped to deal with things as your children. And somehow we are programmed to have this perception that they are somehow going to teach each other, that by being together in those peer groups, they're somehow going to teach each other how to socialise and how to be prepared and grow and evolve socially. And I'm going to give you an example now, and I've used this quite a few times with different people that I've spoken to.